Just a second before we start live streaming, Judge.
All right. Mine shows recording live on YouTube up there. Is that not?
It just started.
Okay. All right. We're ready to go then. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So it's looks like about 5:03. We'll call the meeting to order. It's the McCracken County Fiscal Court meeting, February 8th, 2021, 5 p.m. by Zoom. Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Parker?
Here.
Commissioner Bartleman?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
I'm here.
And Judge Clymer.
Here. All right. Commissioner Bartleman, you offer our prayer, please.
Well, yeah. Father, we just thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve you and to serve the people of this county. And we just pray your blessings on the decisions we make, and we seek your guidance in all that we do. Father, we just pray for all those who are on the front lines of the COVID vaccine and everything going on there. Father, we just pray that you give the city and the county and the state the tools they need to meet the needs of those who are wanting the vaccine. Father, we pray for our first responders, for all those who are out keeping our county safe, keeping the citizens safe. We just pray for them. We pray for our road department in the coming days as we face the potential of ice and maybe snow. Father, just be with them and give them safe travel as they work to keep the roads safe for all of us. Just so thankful for what you do for us. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, thank you. Join me in the pledge. Stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Budget transfers, Madam Treasurer.
It is ordered that the necessary cash transfers in the amount of $200,000 be made in order to pay county bills and payroll approved February 8th, 2021.
So made.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Accounts payable.
It is ordered to approve the vouchers claims register from January 25th, 2021 to February 8th, 2021 to show county bills in the amount of $404,622.33 were paid.
So
So
moved.
made.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Excuse me, sir. Was there a second?
I'll second, Vicky. That's fine.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, we've got under discussion the water tower, the Unity message and water tower funding up for discussion. And JW, we'll go ahead and put you on first. You might have something you want to get on to or something, or you're certainly welcome to stay with us during the meeting if you like, but I understand you've got some information for us.
Yes, Judge, and I really appreciate that. And first of all, I'd like to thank you and the other county commissioners for taking on this project. I just think it's a win-win for the whole McCracken County and the city of Paducah. And when Judge talked to me about possibly, I had told him that that the NAACP would definitely put up $1,000 for what's the thing that they were doing. And I just thought it was a win-win, but I didn't want it to look like that it was only something that the African Americans was concerned about. I wanted to make it look like that it was a project for the entire community, because I still say that flag out there, people, as far as I'm concerned, even stopping to get gas, when they see that flag, they might say, well, shoot, I ain't stopping in that county. So what I did, I touched out to some of my friends. Susan Guest at Paducah Bank, they contributed $1,000. Of course, Paducah, McCracken County, NAACP, this is $1,000. And these numbers I'm giving you, they're already confirmed. CSI, good friend of mine out there, David Covington, 2,500. Talked to Cal Henderson with the labor union. He's going to give $1,000, or the labor union going to give $1,000. Mercy's Health out there, of course, the head person at Mercy's Health, and also my good friend Terrence Adams. They're going to give $1,000. And of course, I think you already know about Bryant Law Center. I called on Mark, and Mark said he's already contributed $1,000. Murray State University, I talked to Bob Jackson, along with Mr. S.G. Cortell. They're going to give $1,000. Talked to Dr. Reese out at the school. They're going to give $1,000. P&L Railroad, they're going to give $500. And BFW Engineering, Mark Workman, going to give $500. So that figures out around over $10,000. But I thought one time that I figured around 12.5. So I'm thinking that I'm missing a couple $1,000, but sometimes I get caught up on a particular project and I kind of forget which way I'm going. So, but as of right now, what I just gave to you was a total of $10,500.
Great. Appreciate it, JW. I couldn't write down all the zeros as fast as you were spitting them out. But,
I'll send it to you. Don't worry about that. In fact, I got numbers on all of you guys, and I'll send it to you. But I did put an email in there to Steve Doolittle, not trying that any of these people want any prestige or anything, but I was wondering if we could come up maybe with a plate or something that whereas anybody that contributed at least $500 or more, that we would come up with some type of metal plate or something. It was just something I put in Steve Doolittle's hand to the point of where maybe we could come up with something, maybe putting it there in the courthouse or whatever. Because I just think this is a win-win project, and I'm really proud that the county took it on.
Well, thanks, JW. Yeah, we'll come up with something. Maybe I'll get with you and get with Steve. And I saw your email there a couple of days ago. We'll come up with something that we think is suitable for that. Steve, do you have you got the graphic there handy?
I do. You want the example of the one that Eric Henn is going to, or the example of his work?
Yeah. I want to see. You've got some examples. Tonight we have on to consider hiring the artist, the painter that does, it's a rather specialized vocation, as you might imagine, going up on towers and painting huge murals. So we've located this gentleman that has done quite a number of them around our area and other places. There's the Maker's Mark that I don't remember where. Is that in Bardstown, maybe, would be my guess?
That's pretty clever.
Might be.
So he did that. I think we've got maybe 2 or 3 other examples. Most people have seen the horse racing mural that's painted on the water tower. There's the E-Town. There's Detroit Pistons. So I'm assuming that'd be in Detroit, you think? Elizabethtown. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, there's the Versailles water tank that was done there by this gentleman. And so we've got a guy that knows what he's doing. Really nice work. We certainly don't want to just slap anything up there. We're going to raise the money, as we've said before, from private donations, no public or tax money. He's given us a price. What was that, Steve? I don't remember. It was 48.
It's 18,000 and some change.
Yeah, 18,000 some odd dollars for his.
18,500.
$18,500 for his labor and travel expense. And he thinks, depending on weather, it'd take about 10 days to 14 days to do this project. So that will leave the cost of paint, which we believe will be pretty cheap, under $1,000, maybe in the $500 range. And then a lift, a crane lift to get up there to paint the thing. That'll come in at several $1,000s, maybe in the. I don't think we ever got around to actually seeing what we think the cost of that will be. You guys know me, I'll try and see if we can get it for a very reasonable price. But anyway, we had kind of speculated all along that maybe, in fact, we thought that we might go with a banner because it was much cheaper. And we're thinking that maybe we could get a banner based on some other information we had for somewhere in the $25,000 range. But when in painting, we had information would be near twice the cost of a banner. As it turns out, it looks like in just very rough figures, we're going to have this in the $25,000 range, perhaps less, to have it actually painted on the tower, and we get somewhere around twice the life, twice the use. It'll last twice as long as paint as it would as on a banner that's put up there, and it blows and tears and that sort of thing. And so I think people maybe have seen that. You have our final artwork there, Steve.
I do.
So after we kicked it around for a good bit, to have a local artist to make several designs, we finally landed on this one. The two hands shaking with the American flag in the background. The United We Stand. I don't know how much attention people will pay to this going, the wording or how it lines up, but I thought it was kind of clever that the U and the S line up as U.S. is United States, and then United We Stand being a part of the Kentucky state motto. So I think that's a strong artistic message that we'll put on that tower. It's, I forget, Steve, 34 by 12 is the rough size.
You're right on top of it. Yeah, 34 by 12.
34 feet by 12 feet is what we have in mind. And so, we've had that talk about and the JW's talked a minute ago, the Confederate flags across the way. And those folks say they don't mean any, there's no racial message intended by that. And even if we take them for their word that they don't intend it, certainly a large number of people, I would guess that a majority of people that drive past those Confederate flags do perceive a racial divisive message, maybe even a white supremacy message. And so I think that this message being on what people, I believe, will recognize to be a government-owned platform, the tower, the water tower, because I think they may not recognize that the Confederate flags are on a privately owned park. And so being a privately owned park and having the First Amendment of the United States Constitution protecting speech of people, no matter some limitations, what they want to say, that the government has no control over that. And so that's the message we're wanting to overcome, is one of the perception of racial bias out here, where tens of thousands of people pass by up and down the interstate daily, some repeatedly, some only once in their lifetime. And they'll see the Confederate flags on one side, they'll see our rendition on the other. And if nothing else, maybe it'll get them thinking, but hopefully it will discourage any thoughts that our community supports any racial discord or divisiveness. And so also, so tonight here in a little bit on the agenda, we're going to raise the question of hiring this Eric Hen. Hopefully we'll get him hired to do this, get it up fairly soon. But also we have on the agenda to create a GoFundMe page. And we'll get to those things individually here just in a second. But the GoFundMe, we decided would be a good opportunity for people who want to make a donation to this, but they have and they want to be able to do it conveniently, easily. Get on the internet, do the GoFundMe, put whatever amount in there, and then we will receive that. We're going to make a request of the we'll prefer, I'll say that, we'll prefer that people, particularly in the larger donations, that they would send those monies to the Judge Executive Office at McCracken County Courthouse, because we do have to pay a small fee for the GoFundMe. So we lose, I think it's just under 2%, if I remember right, that goes to the GoFundMe. And so convenience on the one hand for people to be able to make the donation, as opposed to on the larger funds, we would certainly rather have them come directly and not have to pay that fee. And while I'm on that, we're going to get, just as JW has already done, he's gotten some of the major contributions here already. I'm going to be sending out some communications to a lot of others who I believe will come forth. I think that people will see this not just as a putting a sign up to indicate that we are not a racially divided, not a divisive community, but they also, I believe, businesses and others in general will see this as a economic development type of a project for that very same reason. Have people maybe will stop and visit with us that would not otherwise, as JW pointed out, with the Confederate flags there. And so what I would really like to see, I want to see the big money come in, and JW's got us a good start on that. I think we already had 3,000 or thereabouts in the bank just from people who've written checks without being asked from when this came up back months ago. What I would really like to see is us get, 500 donations of $5, $10, children, Sunday school classes, school classes, parents giving their kids $3 or $4 to contribute to this and send it in an envelope or do the GoFundMe, because I think it would be so strong and such a good community effort to have as many people as possible, so when they go by that tower out there, that they would say, I had a part in that. I put $5 in that, whatever. And I really think this is big enough project. I think the message is strong enough and big enough that it merits that county-wide and even region-wide. It was suggested to me by somebody that, there's a lot of people that travel by that water tower and those flags daily going to work, that I think this money doesn't come just from McCracken County. I think it comes up, and in fact, specifically, the person said there's a whole lot of people from down this way that go up and work in those plants at Calvert City. So I'll be knocking on their door as well, and just see if they wouldn't join with us in showing this entire region feels that way. So I've rambled enough. Anybody else have anything you want to say on that?
Well, JW, good work on fundraising. And Judge, thank you for your leadership on this issue. And it wouldn't surprise me. Steve, do we actually own this design?
Short answer is, or question is, you mean, have we service marked or copyrighted this?
Right.
We have not.
It just won't surprise me if we don't see other communities adopting a similar clarifying message.
Well, that's something I hadn't thought about, but it might be, maybe we'll look at that and see. I have some other ideas of how to use that artwork too, that I want to talk to some folks about too, whether we want to broaden that as well. Oh, also, I really think, well, shoot, we already, I mean, if this thing's 25,000, I think we had 3,000, this was 10.5. So we're halfway there. And I haven't even sent anything out. JW shook down 10.5, and we already had 3,000 in the bank, but I don't have any concern at all that we won't meet the cost of this thing. The problem is going to be a really good problem, is what to do with the other money that comes in, and we'll need to talk about that. There's the idea of putting some in hold for maintenance, repair of the artwork, that sort of thing. We also, I want to talk about whether, depends on how much comes in. If it really floods in, we'll create an endowment for something in line with what this message is, and so that could be exciting as well. So,
Judge, is there any thought or need to put an identification on there, like McCracken County, or Welcome to Western Kentucky, or Welcome to Paducah, or do you think it's just the message is all? We don't need to put where they're at.
well, we didn't do that. I was trying to keep it. My thinking, and not that it's right, but my thinking was that people going by 70 miles an hour at least on that interstate, I wanted to really focus on the racial message. And I had some thought that anything else would maybe detract from that, maybe detract from the idea people might think, I wonder what that's about, and where are we, and maybe try to figure out where we are. But I'm open to that as well. We would just we'd have to modify the design, and I'm sure anything more would, of course, cost some more.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I just wonder if we need to have but you could be right and just see the message, and that's all we need. I think the idea we were talking about, if we have funds left over, we might use that symbol and create small placards that if a restaurant wants to put one, hang one on their wall, or some business wants to hang one on the wall, that so people going into businesses would also see that and kind of make it a theme around the county. I think that might be a possibility if we have funds left over, and just make a small version of it that they could hang on a wall in a restaurant or church or schools or whatever.
I'll tell you that
That's a good possibility.
what I had looked at, and I haven't mentioned publicly because I don't know how much money there'll be, or wouldn't necessarily need to use money. I think another way that perhaps even money could be raised toward this project is decals, bumper stickers. Looked at around like the 3-inch to 5-inch diameter, those vinyl stickers that people put on their bumpers or windows, business doors, that sort of thing, that very same artwork. Ask for donations of, X amount, the cost plus a little bit. I suspect there'll be businesses, individuals maybe that it's going to cost us $1 for the decal. They give us $5 for it, or $2, or maybe they just give us $1. So there's lots to run with on it.
I think it's all good, and I think the money will come in.
All right, are you ready for a motion on number 2?
Yeah, let's have, let's see, Ms. Vicki, you want to read that?
Yes, sir. It is ordered that Steve Irvin, a McCracken County Project Coordinator, is authorized to create and manage a GoFundMe page for the purpose of receiving donations for the United We Stand Water Tower project. Further, the judge executive or his designee is authorized to execute any documents that may be required in the creation of said page.
So made.
Okay.
Yeah, I've discussed it. Any other discussion?
So let me just ask this. So how will we then handle, let's say that we get, how will we handle the public accounting of this money? Will we, seems like we'll need to have some.
Well, we were going to, Steve Irvin already has the account set up. Not set up, but has learned how to do it. It's not set up because we have to authorize it to be done, as we're about to do right now, hopefully. But it'll go into that account. I don't know what what it looks like when it comes to us, but
I guess since we're taking on this amount, should we have the treasurer give a report once a month or at every meeting?
While it's not on our books, we're not going to treat it any differently than any other dollar that we take in, which means every bill we pay must be authorized by the fiscal court. You'll see it in your monthly revenue and appropriations reports, and we will report regularly or even more regularly if you want us to do that.
So this project's going to get its own account number that we'll be able to track. Maybe it already has.
Yes, we will closely track it.
It has its own bank account now. It doesn't have its own fund number.
That's what I was thinking. I hadn't seen it on the financials.
No, you won't see it on the financials. It does not have a separate fund number, but it does have a separate bank account number.
So this will not necessarily, so we'll have to do something a little extra besides, because it's not going to have a fund number, in order to let the public know what's come in and what's gone out, right? I mean, I realize we have to approve it.
Yeah, we can do a little financial statement or something for that bank account if you want. I don't know how the GoFundMe works as far as how that shows up. But until the dollars show up in our bank account, I won't have anything to show you until then.
Right. I think we ought to make the plan to do that.
Okay.
Is this set up as a nonprofit or is it just a county fund?
We did not incorporate a new nonprofit for this.
Yeah, and I don't know that you have to because we are a nonprofit.
Any other discussion on it? And all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. And number 3,
It is ordered that the treasurer is authorized to pay to Eric Henn of Eric Henn Murals the sum of $4,625, representing a 25% deposit toward the cost of the water tower project. This deposit is required for scheduling purposes and is to be paid out of the water tower project bank account. Further, the treasurer is authorized to pay from the water tower project bank account an additional 25% in the amount of $4,625 when Mr. Henn commences his work.
So made.
Second.
Okay.
So technically, we don't have this much money in the account yet, but based upon JW's report, we think we're going to have this enough to cover these amounts. We've got about $3,000 in the account now, right?
right. And JW says we got 10,005 promised from these other entities. So all we need is 4,600 right now for the 25% deposit. And then we don't have a firm timeline, I think, on when he'll begin his work, but 25% then when he starts.
Oh,
Judge.
we're looking at July as a start time, I think is what Eric told Steve. That as soon as we send in the initial 25%, he will schedule it. And we were looking at a July timeframe. So any delay in sending him his initial outlay will push the calendar back.
Judge, let me say this to you and Steve. What I'll do tomorrow, I will go ahead, because Judge sent me an address of where people can start sending this, and I think some of them's already sent it that way. I will go ahead and get that money coming y'all's way within the next. If I start getting the call out within tomorrow, I would say within a week, that money will start showing up in their account. That's what I'll do. I can do that part.
Cool.
All right, appreciate it. All right, so all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. I think that concludes about the water tower. JW, you're welcome to stay on, or if you're going to head on out, whatever you want to do. I appreciate all your efforts. I already had a call with the representative from Paducah Bank and gave them the address. Miss Gassler called me, and so they have it. It's probably on the way.
I'll work on it. All right. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Then 4B is Wayne Elliott, presentation on the McCracken County Conservation District. Wayne, you're up.
All right. I don't really have a whole lot to tell. I guess the one thing that we did different when we talked last year, I'm not sure we mentioned it, we administered the County Agriculture Investment Program, which is the money that comes back from the tobacco companies to fund different projects in our county. Our office was in charge of that as far as handling the money, making sure that the projects were complete and the projects were approved by the state and within the state guidelines. And we're going to have our writing and art and writing contest, which is going on right now. We've already judged the art. Situations is definitely limited the number of participants, as you could well guess that we didn't have near the numbers we have had in the past. The annual tree giveaway, which we did cancel last year on account of we wasn't for sure of the spread and everything else. We are definitely going to have it hopefully on the 25th and 26th of March right now. And if the county has the county cleanup day, we will apply for the $7,500 grant to hand over to you guys. And I guess I'll handle any questions anyone has. And before I thank y'all for all your support and everything else that y'all give us.
I was chatting away and I was muted. So anybody have any questions for Wayne?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Wayne, I appreciate that update.
All right. Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
All right, good to see you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank y'all.
All right, and the Comcast franchise agreement. Steve, you handling that?
Yes, included in your packets, we had Vicky include a couple documents marked draft because they are long and voluminous. Wanted to give you plenty of opportunity to be reading these complicated documents. So basically, we have a franchise because we have a cable company that operates in our right-of-ways. And in exchange for operating in our right-of-ways, we have a regulatory scheme that is heavily regulated, first by federal rules and then some additional state rules. The document that you have before you has some editing marks in it, and I would like to explain to you what those are. The editing marks, so the document as it was presented was sent by our communication attorney, Brian Grogan, to the negotiating team at Comcast. And the editing marks you see are their response to our proposal. And the ordinance and the franchise agreement isn't all that different than the one that expired before. It reflects some changes to state law and to some federal rules, but is largely similar to our old one. One thing I would like to point out that is a significant change that has occurred. I'm trying to remember what year it was when I was here before. The state passed a statewide telecom tax, and people that had a local franchise fee, local government, cities and counties that had a franchise fee, it was taken out by that statute, and all the companies that did telecom business in the state paid into a fund, and then the state distributed from that fund what they called hold harmless. So we were supposed to get our money back, but ultimately the legislature capped how much money was available. And of course, what was being collected statewide was a number bigger than that. So we took a significant cut in franchise fees that were collected. And we just lived with that state law. There has been a Supreme Court case which has struck down a portion of that. So one of the decisions we will have to make is, are we going to be participating in the same hold harmless fund as we have for probably the last, I don't know, dozen or 15 years, or are we going to assess up to a 5% franchise fee? So I told our attorney, I didn't know, it's something we're going to have to analyze to see what the impact of that is. So it's unknown on that. If anybody's had an opportunity to go through this, if you have any questions, you can ask now, or you can just contact me at your convenience.
Well, we put a 5% franchise fee on there. They're probably just going to turn right around and put it on the residents in the county, right?
I have no doubt they will do that, just like they do with the telecom taxes. They pass them straight on to the consumer.
What's the amount that we have budgeted for our share of this? So we can't get both, right? It's one or the other.
One or the other.
What's the amount that we have budgeted to receive?
I think it was 275, but I will check. Unless Pam remembers offhand.
I don't. We roughly get 22,700 change, something like that a month. So
Yeah, we typically get 22,699 a month. So we get for the year $271,700.
Yes, Mike. So then if we were to do the 5%, the state would, so Comcast would quit collecting a local. I'm on Comcast, so my bill would change.
So I'm not sure the exact impact on your bill, because certainly if you were in the city, it wouldn't be affected. There's a separate agreement inside the city limits. So this would only apply to the customers that were in McCracken County, but outside the city of Paducah. And I'm not sure what the city elected to do. The other thing to keep in mind is that we can only put a fee on the cable TV portion of the bill. So I know lots of people here locally, they have both a cable TV lineup and they take internet. The fees and the regulatory framework and the ordinance and the franchise do not apply to internet or broadband. Same with, through Comcast, you can buy a bundle of telephony services, broadband, and cable TV channels. Doesn't apply to those telephony services either. So it's just limited to that portion of the bill that's for cable TV. And I think my experience at my house was it was about, the cable TV was about half of the bill.
All right. So here's the question. I'm wondering, so we get about $270,000 back from the state. Does the state collect more than 270,000, or is it a 1-for-1?
To the best of my recollection, they collect considerably more than that.
So if in our agreement, we conceivably could be saving the consumer money by going to a local option?
Conceivably. We don't have all the data, so I'm reluctant to say it's a saving for everybody, because I'm not sure. But I do recall this when the state legislation changed and this was imposed, we lost about a third of what we had traditionally collected.
What's our timeline for this agreement?
So we have till the end of till July 1st. So we have a meeting we're scheduling with Comcast officials sometime in March. These things take good 30, 60-day turnaround. So ideally, we would be introducing something in late May, early June.
Steve, do you know if the state fee is only on the cable TV, or is the state fee on the internet also?
So I'm going to say this wrong because I have it one way in my head and it's always different, but I believe it's a telecom fee, so it's on everything.
So
but our local franchise fee can only be on the cable TV lineup, on the cable channels.
Can you research some of that for us? I mean, if we were to do our local fee that's only on cable TV, would they still assess the telecom fee on the other services that the state would receive?
Yeah, I'll find that out.
And see if we can get estimates on it.
It's going to be hard research. You're going to have Comcast going to have to help you on this, isn't it?
Yeah, they are, because we don't keep or know, or have I seen any report on what's the value of their services by category that they sell.
And maybe the state, how much is Cracken County residents pay? Maybe the state could tell you that too, currently, and then we could do a comparison.
All right, so our timeline is that we've got to have an agreement by July 1. And then what's the length of that agreement?
So there is a term section. It's either in the ordinance or in ordinarily you see a short ordinance and a longer agreement, but there is a
Section 23, page 8. It's a 10-year agreement.
Yep.
Okay.
Steve, do we have anything in the agreement that requires them to provide service to any resident of McCracken County? I hear complaints. There's a few residents who, you know, they live in a maybe not a highly populated area, or they have a long driveway or something that they're charging them outrageous fees to provide service. Is there anything in there, or can we put in there that they're required to provide service for all residents of McCracken County? They benefit in subdivisions, but the less populated areas, I mean, they have to, I know it costs them more to put them in there, but I think it all balances out.
So it's either in the ordinance or in the franchise agreement, and we have this rule that says, and Comcast wants to change to this, and actually want a little bit of a tougher change, that there has to be 25 customers per mile before it makes sense for them to provide the service. And that's what the current franchise says, and they want it to now say 25 occupied structures per mile, not 25 customers or even 25 buildings total, but 25 occupied structures per mile. So when that happens, the service tends to be in the more densely populated areas of the county. There's also language in the agreement that I got to say probably they don't follow with regard to. There's also a requirement that they don't have to speculatively take in subdivisions. They can wait until there's actually houses in those subdivisions. But I can't say that's where I've ever heard or seen that's a problem here. They have typically followed right along with all the other utilities as subdivisions have been built in the county, unless they're way out of their service area. So things that are already in their service area, my experience says we don't really get complaints from developers or from people building in those areas. Where we get complaints really have to do with somebody that's really far off the road, that it's not that if they're nearby they won't provide it, but if it's outside of the density requirement, they add that they want the potential customer to pay that cost. And I've heard some pretty big numbers thrown out. And then the other one, even when they're within a densely populated enough area, but their house is so far off the road, they're just like all other utilities. I come to the edge of the road, so to speak, and you have to hire an electrician or another contractor to run it several hundred feet. Your house might be off the road. It's not an uncommon situation in McCracken County. The other sort of complaints we hear from time to time have to do with Comcast came through my backyard digging, and they haven't fixed it back yet. Hear that one occasionally as well, and we have language in the ordinance about that. There's also language in the ordinance that reflects a customer service standard. Brian tells me that standard is almost word for word what the FCC requires. So there's rules as to how long the phone can ring before somebody answers it. There's rules with regard to once they schedule someone for service, they have 7 days to actually do the installation. So there you'll see all that language that's in the ordinance. Don't really get complaints from anybody about that. It more has to do with, I think the most common one I get is, I would like to have Comcast, but I can't get it because I'm too far out of the service area.
I hear that from time to time, a couple of people. Probably not much we can do about it, I guess, is there?
I don't think we want to make that standard tougher with regard to saying the 25 structures per mile have to be occupied. I think that's one we probably need to push back on. I don't know why they wanted that change. I can't think of a specific reason of something that happened here in McCracken County, but that is a change they're requesting.
Thank you.
So, just coincidentally, maybe, or maybe not, but I did get a call from a fellow today that lived out in the county, and he said that his Comcast was going to charge him, I think it was $5,000, $5,700 to run cable to him overhead, and 8,000 something to run it in the ground to his house, and wanting some help with that. So that's the reality of it, I guess. People living in the sparse areas, and the business model doesn't allow, or costs Comcast a lot of money to service those people.
I've told them it kind of, sounds good for the company that one of the primary complaints is I want the service and I can't get it. So on one hand, while it's certainly not an inexpensive service, people do like to get a hold of it.
Yeah, I heard a presentation today from actually the agriculture commissioner of all of folks about an effort in Frankfurt ongoing now of securing funds for what he calls that last mile of broadband service. Maybe some relief is on the way.
All right, we done with that discussion? Then next is on for discussion, considering the liquor license, possible refunds for 2020. We had the request from Rolling Hills Country Club and a letter explaining their negative impact from COVID as to their liquor license, asking that it be refunded. In your packet is a extremely thorough legal examination of the considerations in doing that Sam did for us. And the conclusion is we can, if we wish, refund the cost of those licenses. We're talking, I think what we're talking about, maybe there's a broader interest, but of considering refunding only the per drink or the in-house drink license, not package carry out license, because we believe, and I think it's correct, that it's the restaurants, the bars that serve alcohol within their establishments that took the hit. The carry out folks, package stores and that sort of thing, the general consensus seems to be they did quite well during the virus and continue to do so. But, so he found that we could do it, but if we do it for one similarly situated group, we would need to do it for all of those similar. So we could, if we're looking at just, and Sam, and I'll ask you to clarify if you'd like, we can, we're considering doing the in-house drink per drink license. I think there was 9 different types of them, but not the package. As long as we do all the restaurants, bars, where they're in-house drink license, we're okay to do that. Is that?
Yeah, that's pretty well the gist of it, and that draws the majority of its support and rationality and justification from public statements that have actually been made by the governor on November 5th when he made the statements indicating that it's recognized and actually beyond any doubt or argument that the buy the drink sellers or licensees shouldered the lion's share of the burden as a result of the COVID mandated closures. And then the same sentiment was echoed in the December 30th order by the Public Protection Cabinet, just indicating that yes, indeed, it is a legitimate governmental interest to try to aid in the recovery and mitigation of these financial hardships, and that the refunding, or in some circumstances, the waiver of these types of license renewal fees are definitely rationally related to that legitimate government interest. So we have on the highest authority, essentially, in the state of Kentucky, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that this is a doable thing. But it's authorized for these types of individual licensees, or this class of licensees that suffered the injury. And so those are the ones that we can actually take a little bit of a different route on as far as the discretionary waiver.
You say discretionary.
That's right. It came down first. We had to figure out if we were even authorized to do something like this, given the extraordinarily more stringent limitations on county funding or fund usage and county operations, as they are a lot more curtailed than city and state. And so I found that we were able to do that as far as a mitigation and recovery effort from the state imposed, I guess, mandates that gave rise to the economic hardship. That's another one of the equitable concerns that goes into it.
So I guess, but we do need to do it by and through the process of an ordinance.
It would have to be an ordinance. We discussed that the other day, just going back to the equal dignities rule, since the authority was vested by the General Assembly to, by ordinance, impose discretionary county ABC license fees. Right. Then in order to take a discretionary action in relation to those fees, we have to do that by ordinance as well.
I got you. Well, thank you, Sam. I'm prepared to support this, I guess, as we discussed. I believe these entities paid money for a license or a right to do a certain activity, and somewhere along the way, some form of government said, no, you can't do that. And so I think they actually paid for a right that they were later told they didn't have. And it seems just to refund the fee that they paid for the right that they ended up not having.
I definitely support it. Anytime we can help a small business that we've harmed in the first place, I think it's our duty to do that. And I know it's not a lot of money, but it may make a difference to one of them or to all of them. So I'm very much in favor of doing this.
I want to comment on too. I've kind of studied this issue, and I've been on all sides of it in the last 2 weeks since we first discussed it. Commissioner Jones makes a good point that we sold a permit to somebody to conduct a certain kind of business, and then after they paid their fee for that business, the state said, well, you can't do that to the full extent of what the permit outlines to do that for the liquor license. I calculated, I think these numbers are correct. In 2020, there were 80 days when there were no restrictions on restaurants or bars. There were 74 days when they were closed to in-house dining and in-house service, and 212 days when they had restrictions ranging from 50% capacity to as low as, I think, 25% capacity. I think the bar, ironically, we only got one request for to refund or not assess the fee this year. And ironically, that one that made the request probably depends on liquor sales less than what any of the others do. The one that made a request, they have about 20% of their annual income comes from bar sales. It was a private organization, and the majority of their funds, about 80%, comes from fees that people pay to belong to that organization. So they weren't impacted like other businesses were that could not serve full time. I'll support this, that we refund the full amount. And the way I look at it, they were restricted some last year. They could still perform their business. They still made some profits from it. They still made some income from it. And they'll have some this year. There's going to be more restrictions this year. So I know we're refunding the 2021 fee, but I kind of look at it as though we refund half of last year's fee, half of this year's fee, but we'll do it all in this year to make it a 100% refund on it. So I think we probably at least owe them that, to give them a full refund because of the 2-year effect it's going to have on their businesses. That last year they probably were restricted. They're going to be restricted again this year. So I'm in favor of refunding the fee for this year. And in essence, in my own mind, I know it doesn't on paper, in my own mind, it covers the restrictions they're going to have for 2020 and 2021. So I will support the full refund of the 2021 figures.
Now, when we voted, well, we didn't, I guess we discussed and sort of agreed to do a ordinance in general to give us some guidance on what we were doing. The ordinance as written is to refund those in-house drink license, the A through G that's in the ordinance types of license, but it is for 2020.
Right.
So it's for last year's license.
I think that's an important distinction for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is one of the few, and this is not an original thought for me, and I don't have many original thoughts actually, but in my conversations with Steve Doolittle today, he pointed out, and I think it's important to know, this is one of the few fees we have that's a flat fee. A lot of the other licenses we have are based upon your income or your gross receipts. So they're going to get as their business slows down, their license may be cheaper. Whereas opposed, this is a flat fee. This is what you have to pay at the beginning of the year if you want to do this kind of business. In particular, in 2020, they went and they would have paid this flat fee in anticipation. I don't think any of us would have anticipated this type of an environment or this type of an economy when they wrote that check, as opposed to 2021 when they write that check. They're writing that with knowledge of, well, do I want to keep doing this? So I think 2020 stands separate and apart from 2021. I guess I say that to say I probably wouldn't have the same opinion if this were presented to me next year, because I don't view this as well, we're going to help a business that's struggling. That's not my approach to this. My approach to this is they paid for a particular right. That right was, there was no way to anticipate that right was going to be taken from them.
I'm good with that. The effort's the same. We'll refund a full year's fee. Do we have any in 2021 that were not, didn't have licenses in 2020, Steve?
No, I think they've all been the same. There is, I think there were a couple that dropped. We had a package store that closed sometime in 20, that did not get a new license.
Yeah.
I think all the others are the same.
But we are refunding, what, about $6,500 to restaurants that serve drinks and bars, right? But we're not package license.
Roughly, yes.
We're good with that.
So we'll have to advertise this and present it.
No, sir.
Process.
No, sir. The law changed on that. You only advertise after an ordinance is adopted.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yes, but
Right.
the county attorney has prepared a summary first reading that although it's not on the agenda, I do have it ready to read if y'all choose to do so.
Sounds like we got the votes.
Hurry up before I change my mind again.
Okay, here we go. It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the reading of ordinance number 2021-2 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. An ordinance authorizing the one-time refunding of 2020 alcoholic beverage license renewal fees to mitigate the negative economic impact of mandatory COVID-19 closures and limited operational capacities for licenses permitted to sell solely for on-premises consumption by the drink. The action effectuated in the present ordinance is authorized by the interrelation of Kentucky Revised Statutes, Section 67.0801C, 67.083, 3N, 243.060, 39A.010, and 39A.100, sub 2, sub A, and is permissible under the provisions of the Kentucky state and federal constitutions pertaining to equal protection, due process, and special legislation. The present ordinance authorizes the one-time refund of 2020 county imposed alcoholic beverage license renewal fees actually paid by licensees authorized solely to sell alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption by the drink, as publicly recognized by the Governor of Kentucky, the Commonwealth of Kentucky Public Protection Cabinet, the City of Paducah, and the McCracken County Fiscal herein, to have sustained the most significant negative economic impacts as a direct result of the state government imposed mandatory closures and limited operational mandates. Such licensees are solely those having actually paid 2020 county imposed alcoholic beverage license renewal fees related to the following license types. Excuse me. Quota retail liquor drink license, non-quota type 2 retail drink license in Q2, non-quota type 3 retail drink license in Q3, non-quota type 4 malt beverage retail drink license in Q4, special Sunday retail drink license, limited restaurant license LR50 and LR100, and limited golf course license. The present refund is limited in application to the licenses reflected in items A through G above, with all alcoholic beverage license renewal fees not so referenced being omitted. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of ordinance number 2020-02. A true and correct copy of ordinance number 2021-02 shall be made available for public inspection in its whole and complete form by the McCracken County Judge Executive's Office. Any person desiring to inspect ordinance number 2021-2 shall contact the McCracken County Judge Executive's Office by a telephone at 270-444-4707 to make arrangements for the transmission or delivery of the same.
Jeff, you gonna make this motion?
We lose Jeff?
You're muted, Jeff.
Vicky,
Yes, sir.
will you look in there? I'm not seeing it. Have you got the caterer's license on there? I know there's a couple of places in the county that uses those, like Steve over at Bloomington Garden. Aren't they in the county?
They are, but they use a liquor by the drink license.
So they don't use a caterer's license?
We
Okay.
don't have any caterer's
Cool.
licenses.
Then I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
I will second Commissioner Parker's motion.
Judge, I believe you're muted.
Let's start over. Any further discussion? No.
No.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Let's see, where are we? Right, we've got court orders. 5A.
It is ordered that the bid for the emergency chiller replacement at the McCracken County Jail is awarded to Jets Specialty Contracting. The amount of this bid is $98,000, which is the lowest of the 3 bids received.
So made.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. B.
It is ordered that after a review of the Planning Commission regarding a requested zone change of property located at 6010 US Highway 60 West from urbanizing residential to commercial, the decision of the Planning Commission is, and we have a blank because you need to review.
All right, so we got our planning and zoning administrator, Mr. Cannon, here. You want to walk us through what we're doing here?
Yes, sir. Back in December, the Planning Commission heard a zone change application and they voted to approve. McCracken County is on the alternative method for zone change, which is laid out in KRS 100. Under that, the Planning Commission can make a decision and that will stand final unless the decision is appealed by any party or unless the fiscal court decides on their own to take the issue up. And I have asked the fiscal court to take this up because I believe it was wrongly decided. Judge Clymer did not want to go through a full public hearing at this time. You all have the option of deciding it based off the facts that were presented in the public hearing that the Planning Commission held, which I have provided all of you all that information. Or you can hold your own public hearing. Judge Farmer thought it was best just to review the record at this time. So the Planning Commission approved this essentially based off of the future land use map. The way it works is to approve a zone change, one of 3 criteria has to be met. There either has to be significant changes of social, economic, or physical nature in an area to justify changing the zone. It has to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan includes the text of the plan plus the future land use map. Or the third is that the current zone is incorrect and the requested zone is more correct. Well, in this case, they relied on the future land use map, which is a part of the comprehensive plan. And you've got a copy of the development plan, and you can see on there most of the property in question, over 30 acres, about 30, a little over 31, I believe. Most of that is in the light colored blue, and that is either the floodway or the 100-year flood plain. And our comprehensive plan, in the text, it says there are areas of floodplain prone to flash flooding, wetlands, or other natural areas that need to be protected. Floods can result in the loss of life and always involve the loss or damage to property. These areas should have limited development except for water-dependent facilities, essential road crossings, parks, and other recreational uses. It's my opinion that the Planning Commission completely ignored the text of the comprehensive plan. and relied solely on the future land use map. I believe the copy of the findings of fact that you all have pretty much lays that out in there. So I'm asking you all to review this and decide whether or not the decision to approve the zone change should stand, or if you all decide to reverse it.
Can we send this back to the planning commission and ask them to reconsider based on the points that you bring up? Because there may be a change of heart or one or more of the board members that voted yes. Can we send it back to them and let them resolve it, or do we need to do it?
You all need to do it. The way it's laid out under state law, it's kind of like the court system. They're the trial court, you're the appellate, but for lack of a better description.
I mean, appellate courts sometimes will send the case back to local court. Can we send it back?
Well, true. In the court system, they do. But in this case, once it's appealed to you all, it's up to you to make a decision. You don't get to refer it back to you.
Hey, Greg, how close is this to the new high school?
This is out on Maxon Road, between Old 60 and New 60.
This is right.
So it's yes, it backs up to the creek. That's why half the property is in the floodway.
It's next to Golf Mart, the golf complex.
Yeah, yes, it's on the other side of Maxon Road from that. Correct.
But did they give you a hint as to what they're wanting to do?
Yes. There was a development plan that was presented with it, and I did provide that for you all. That they want to take approximately a 1 acre portion of it that is outside the flood zone, and they want to put shipping containers on there to sell. But the problem is they didn't ask to change the zone on that 1 acre parcel of ground. They asked to change it on that whole 31 acres, like of which over half of that is inside the floodway, and the vast majority of the rest is in the 100-year floodplain.
So,
Would we have the option of going back and ask them to not do the whole 31 acres, only to do what they need to operate their business?
At that point, they would actually need to reapply. They would have to cut that acre out and create that as its own standalone tract of land. That could be a possibility that they could do. But unfortunately, the question for you all, which is the same that's before the planning commission, is the whole tract of land, not just that 1 acre portion.
I'll say that I took more time than I wanted to, frankly, to try to decipher all of this. And I did have a class in zoning back in law school, but that's been just what do they call it? That's been a minute ago, as they'd say these days. And so it's quite nothing. I mean, I can see how the planning commission would have gotten kind of turned around, and perhaps there was some confusion. There certainly was in my mind. But finally, as I worked through all this, I think that the answer really kind of comes down to that item 9 on page 2, where it says the future land use map in the comprehensive plan shows the subject property and adjoining properties lying north and west of the subject property in a commercial zone classification. In accordance with KRS 100-213, the Planning Commission finds that changing the zoning classification for the subject property from urban residential UR to commercial is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Now, what that's really saying, the first part's true. The future land use map, which is a part of the comprehensive plan, shows this to be in a commercial zone classification. However, the future land use map is, I guess you could say, more generic, it's just a flat area, a geographical map showing what areas we think should be urban or commercial and that sort of thing. It does not entail going in and this particular case, for instance, addressing, is this land flooded? Is it in the floodplain? Is it in the floodway? And so I think where it was missed, and I think where we come in to find a basis for reversing this, in my mind, is that while it's true that the future land use map shows it in a commercial zone classification, the comprehensive plan in the text of it addresses that commercial zoning should not be, say that the other way, that land that's in a floodplain should not be in a commercial zone because of the dangers obvious with flooding. And so I think that is where I believe it just boiled it all down. Lots of language in here, lots of back and forth. But I think that's where they misinterpreted, and that we don't want to authorize a commercial zone for an area that's in a 100-year floodplain. In fact, about half of that land's in the actual flood way, which is even worse than a floodplain. Only about an acre of the ground looks like is in even outside of the floodway, the 100-year floodplain, and is rather still in a floodplain, but it's in the 500 years, so it's not as likely to flood as the other. But this application is to zone the entire 37-point-something acre tract as being commercial. And so all of it, except for the 1 acre that's in the 500-year floodplain, fits with the comprehensive plan of commercial. I think, did I say that right, Greg? You correct me if I didn't.
It sounded accurate.
Okay.
Well, so the objection is they've rezoned land commercial and it's land that floods all the time, and we don't want to do that as a community because that will create problems.
Yes.
Okay, I'm convinced.
So any other discussion on it? Questions, anything? So our action then, Greg, tonight is to, I guess, do we need at this time a finding of fact and say, based on this finding of fact, the planning and zoning, or the planning commission was incorrect in agreeing to change it from UR to C?
Yeah, I think with the order that Vicki read, if in that blank you fill in,
Okay.
it's your decision to reverse the decision of the planning commission because it's your finding that their decision was not based on the text of the comprehensive plan, just the future land use map. I believe that would be sufficient.
Sir, shall I reread the order with the blank filled in?
I have had that thing, and now I've lost it. But Greg, you think that the language is, of course, we've got to fill in the blank that it would be reversed, but do you think the language of the ordinance that Vicki read has sufficient finding of fact to
I would add the phrase, because the full text of the comprehensive plan was not followed. Because that's, if you reverse it, that's why you're reversing it, because the full text was not followed. That way you are clarifying on what grounds you are reversing their decision.
What if we were to say, because the land is in a floodplain and such a change to commercial property would be inconsistent with the text of the.
That would be perfect wording.
If it's perfect, let's use that.
Shall I reread it with all that language added?
Now, do you see where to put it? I don't know where it is.
Yes, sir, I believe so. It is ordered that after a review of the Planning Commission regarding a requested zone change of property located at 6010 US Highway 60 West from urbanizing residential to commercial, the decision of the Planning Commission is reversed because the full text of the comprehensive plan was not followed, as well as the property is located in a floodplain.
That Nick, Greg, Steve?
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Steve? Good. Okay.
And we can do this without holding a hearing.
Yes.
I'm asking that again. I want to make sure.
All right, I'll make.
You only need a hearing if you want to potentially bring in new evidence. And you're basing it solely off of what was presented at the initial public hearing.
And there's not an obligation to give the landowner a chance to leave his case to us.
Only if I would have given you something new.
Okay.
So if I make this motion and it seconds and it passed, Greg, I mean, the proponent can come back with a new plan and say, well, all right, well, I just want this particular part rezoned where I'm going to use it for these things. And then it's problematic for him because he's got to start over, but it's not, we're not ending the game for him, right?
Correct. He'd have two options. He can appeal to circuit court, your decision, or he could cut that 1 acre out and bring it back in, and ask for that 1 acre.
Well, and I think
he's got.
If he's watching our discussion, he knows the reason we're doing this is because of the floodplain, not because of the land use.
And I've seen his consultant
Yeah.
on the list, so I know his consultant is in the meeting.
Okay. All right, I make that motion. I make the motion to approve the order that Vicky read just a few minutes ago.
I'll second it.
Okay.
And his future use was only to use that 1 acre, Greg?
Well, the future land use shows that whole parcel, but like the judge said, the future land use map.
I understand that, but what he was wanting to use it for, he only needed that 1 acre. Is that what you said?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
They zoned the entire 37 acre tract though, so there's not really a practical way after the zoning is completed to go back and say, but you only asked us for 1 acre. The
Yeah.
whole property's changed at that point.
Yeah, it's the right decision.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve the January transient room tax in the amount of $209,537.11 to be dispersed as follows. Paducah CBB, $61,482.30. Convention Center, $41,755.75. Sports Tourism Commission, $63,780.36. Escrow Fund, $42,518.70.
Oh, wait.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that the judge executive is authorized to execute a supplemental MOA between the Transportation Cabinet, Department of Highways, and McCracken County regarding the right-of-way phase of the Milton Road project. This document is entitled Supplemental Agreement Number 1 and obligates $65,000 of the authorized $497,150 of FD 30 funding to right-of-way for the Milton Road project.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? We got the county engineer here. He's been with us all the way. Any question he can answer, whatever, if there are any questions about any of this. Gosh, I hate for him to just sit there and just not.
But Randy, what do you think?
I think it's gonna save us some trouble, and I've got another one coming up, so I didn't just sit here for all this, Judge.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were here just for this. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that Maggie Moore is appointed to the Senior Citizens Board to complete the term of Whitney Evans, which term will expire on June 30th, 2022, and which order is subject to further orders of the court.
So made.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Resolutions.
It is ordered that a resolution be adopted approving the execution of a rural secondary program agreement between the KYTC and McCracken County to perform bituminous resurfacing in the amount of $226,156 on the following county roads: Ashland Avenue, CR 1392, from Old US 60 number 3 to US 60 New Hope Church Road, CR 1209, from Kentucky 1322 to Kentucky 1438, Old Ogden Landing Road, CR 1345, from Kentucky 358 to the Ballard County line, and Old US 60 number 3 Road, CR 1409, from Kentucky 3520 to Ashland Avenue.
So made.
Second.
Randy, since you're there, I want to ask a question. Is the old US 60, is that now a county road, or is that?
Just that section of it. It's the very far west end of it. The rest of it is still state. I
Okay.
think it's Kentucky 3520, but
It's
we
just
do
a small section of it.
Magruder West.
It's a small portion of the old 60 is a county road now. And not
Correct.
the whole thing. I'd hate to have the whole thing, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would hate to have it. No, it's the only section that's ours.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
Can I ask Randy a question while he's there?
What's that?
Can I ask Randy a question while he's still here?
Sure.
How much salt do you have on hand? And I saw they have plows in the truck, you're ready for snow, but how much salt do you have on hand?
We've got about 900 tons on hand. So
That'll last a while.
what?
How many storms will that last?
About 9.
So we're good.
It'll treat the roads about 9 times, completely treat them.
So we're good to 2024 then, right?
I've lost you.
Yeah, I said we're good to 2024, right, on salt?
Man, I hope so. I hope we're good till a lot longer than that.
Appreciate all the work your men do.
Thank you.
We're at least good until the end of our term.
I hope so.
You mean this present one?
Right.
Oh.
Yes.
All right, then, let's see. Yeah, we voted on that. No, I don't know of anything for executive session. Do we have? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn then?
So,
Second.
All right, all in favor, aye.
All right.
Opposed, no. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies.